and welcome back to the Tulsa Sound Podcast. How are you tonight? I'm Mr. Eric, and here's my co-host Oscar, and we've got a special guest in the studio today.
Absolutely. It is a pleasure, my friends, to bring you a man that I've known that's near and dear to me for
Let's do this again.
Okay.
Because here's what happened. I hit the wrong camera button, and all of a sudden you pop up like Uncle Zing.
Oh, nice.
So let's try this
Uncle
again.
Zeb.
Yeah.
Mr. Zing.
Mr.
Uncle
Zing,
Zeb and
one
Mr.
of them.
Zing, yeah.
It was a very chaos.
Zing
It was
and Tuffy.
a very Channel 8 moment. So here we go.
I named my dog Tuffy after that.
All right. Name is Dog Tuffy.
I'll tell you how we
All right.
Episode 5, Session 2, Take 2. And welcome back to the Tulsa Sound Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Eric, and here's my co-host, Oscar Padron, and we have a special guest in the studio for you this evening.
All right. It is great to be here tonight. Welcome to the Tulsa Sound Podcast. I'm Oscar Padron, your host, and I am excited beyond belief. It is a dream come true. We have Brad Absher with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to talk about the Tulsa Sound, Tulsa Blues, and his latest record, The T. Eric, it's been a wonderful, wonderful season for music in Tulsa, and there's lots going on. And
It is.
Well, we actually have a special date. Today is a special date, actually.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's, what is the date on your watch, Mr. Brad?
Well, I believe it's March 27th.
All right, and March 27th is the anniversary of the passing of Mr. Jimmy Karstein. And we want to mention that and have a moment here for Jimmy. Jimmy's the reason, one of the reasons we do the show. He was an inspiration in my life, and man, what a great guy. And when we lost Jimmy, we thought we need to start telling these stories, and we need to get them down, or else they'll get lost. So
Indeed.
it's really important that we're here. And Brad is fresh from an event that he just came straight to the studio from. Brad, what's been going on?
Man, not much. I'm so glad to have you guys.
All right.
You guys had me on. I mean, it's cool. I've been checking out the podcast since you guys started, man. I'm a fan. I like it.
We're sorry.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. Is that the easy button?
It's a hype button.
Woo! Give me some hype out there. Yeah,
Zoo for everyone. Woo!
Nice.
So tell us about the event that you were at this evening.
Well, it's been 1 year since we lost Mr. Karstein, and that guy goes back way deep in the Tulsa sound. I mean, right back to the beginning. I mean, seriously, David Gates and the Accents. Jimmy was the drummer. I mean, that's way, way, way back there in early Tulsa musical folklore, And his wife Jackie just has had a year now to get something together and get her thoughts together and her videos and pictures, and she just put on an amazing thing at the church studio tonight. And as you can imagine, all the old timers were there, and we had a great time and told stories about Karstein.
Now,
Tulsa.
Man, what a fantastic event. Who were some of the old timers that you mentioned just now that happened to have been there this evening?
Well, one of the oldest timers, of course, is Don White.
Don.
Another guy that goes all the way back to absolute square one of the Tulsa Sound.
Absolutely. Don White is part of square one of the Tulsa Sound.
When you really look at it, almost every Tulsa musician from back then, if you ask them how they got started, they were in Don White's band, one way or the other. They came through the Don White school of funkiness.
Man, that's great. Okay. Pryor certainly had a lot of reverence for Don White.
Oh, man,
and,
absolutely.
When Steve was misbehaving, he would hide from Don White.
Yep, absolutely.
That's a fact. So who else was at the event this evening? Who else was there?
Oh, man, I got to see Steve Hickerson, my favorite guitar player, the guy that taught me how to work a guitar amp, and of course, the Red Dirt Rangers all send their love, and they all say, hey.
Howdy, boys.
They're doing great, and man, the Tea Garden, of course, was there. And
Okay, so Senior was there.
oh yeah, Senior was there, and the guy I enjoyed talking to the most was Gary Gilmore. Gary was a bass
Wow.
player for Taj Mahal back in the day, back when they were the hottest band in the land, you know. And he laid this information on me tonight that I did not know, because you know those first two records were Gary Gilmore on bass and Chuck Blackwell played drums. Well, he told me tonight when he first got the gig with Taj, Karstein was the drummer already. And then when Karstein quit, Blackwell got the job, and the rest is history.
He did the following
But,
gig.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Karstein actually had the gig first and brought another Okie in.
Well, that's the way it should be, keeping
Right.
it all in the house.
That's right.
Everything.
Well, and you know that was that era, the golden era of, you know, California music, which was the golden era of Tulsa music, really. I mean, all those guys were out there. I mean, everybody you can name, from Carl Radel to, I mean, they all went to L.A. and they all kicked ass, you know.
That was I think Leon kind of cut a path for a lot of folks, but it was their talent that got him success there. because
Absolutely, man.
It's
yeah.
not the type of place where you just show up and, hey, you're from Tulsa. You've got to
Right,
be
yeah,
great.
that gets you. That only gets you so far. Then you got to be able to you have the goods, and all those guys really delivered.
Well, and of course, they kind of had to as well, because you had to eat. And there
That's
wasn't
it.
a lot else to do back in those days.
That's
Oh,
it.
man. So
That's it.
who else was in attendance this evening, Brad? I hate to pick your brain like this.
Well, man, you
We
know,
want all the names.
you name it. I can't think of all the names, but there were. It was a who's who.
So we had a slideshow presentation at the church this evening. What a wonderful thing. And we'd
Yep.
like to thank the good folks at the church studio, our friends. And, man, it's a pleasure to have you in the studio.
Very cool to be here.
Eric, I was just thinking earlier today about the first time
You were thinking?
Occasionally I get to do that.
I can't believe that.
Don't underestimate me. That's my mother's job. Hey. Woo! All right. But I was thinking about the first time I ever met Brad Absher. And
Tell us about it, baby.
well, I had to go back in my little memory file, and I went into
That was
the
Donnie's song, by the way. Just play. Go ahead.
I had to go into the Sound Warehouse
Sound Warehouse
on
the one and
Cherry
only.
Street, yes, and to purchase a Mazeppa box set. And Brad sold me a Mazeppa box set
Nice choice.
back in the day, and that's the first time I remember meeting Brad. But Brad, when do you remember meeting me?
Wow. Well, it would have been right after that when we started the Heaven Devils with Steve, and when I started hanging out with Pryor a little more. You were at all the gigs and always there, and I think that was when it was. Must have been around 1990, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's about right. And, Club One in those
it.
days was ground zero for the Heavens Devils.
That's it, man.
And
That's it.
I'm proud to say that I witnessed the birth of the Heavens Devils.
Right.
I was there night one,
You were.
and it was fantastic. And I got to tell you, it was an experience. These guys.
That was a fun time.
And this was a fantastic blues duo in the city of Tulsa at the time. There are a lot of people that aren't familiar with the Heavens Devils, so I'm going to tell a quick little story. The Heavens Devils were just fabulous, and it was a side project done by Steve Pryor and my good friend Brad Absher, and it just kind of came about on like a Monday or Tuesday night down at Club One. And Steve had this notorious habit of sitting in on other people's gigs without warning,
Right.
or letting them not letting them know at all. He just showed up and just said he was playing, and that was it. And I feel like it maybe had a genesis in that
Yep.
from time to
Yeah,
time.
well, you're always here, so let's just go ahead and do this.
Right on.
But yeah, it was an amazing sight. And the fact is, it didn't matter that the audience was even there. These guys were on stage playing for each other, and
That's right.
You guys were in a head cutting contest unlike anything I've ever seen.
That's it. Well, it was
And
good fun.
It was good for both of you,
right.
and it was just a fabulous thing to witness as an artist and to watch you guys both collaborate and grow.
It was great fun.
Was something to behold, and
was good fun.
I recommend anybody.
I'm glad I was young.
Oh man,
when we did that.
To dig up some Heaven's Devils, find Heaven's Devils in the Tulsa Sound Podcast playlist. You can find all kinds of it there. So look through our created playlist on our YouTube channel, and you'll find some Heaven's Devils.
No kidding. I'm going to have to check this out myself then.
So, what's been going on with you, Brad? You've
Well,
been all over. You've been traveling. You've been out of the country. What
Travel a
in the
little
world?
bit. We travel a little bit. Well, we got the new Tulsa Tea record out.
Okay.
Came out last summer. We're still schlepping that, and it's 9 originals and one cover. We do a song from our friends the Iguanas, and we've been playing a little bit behind that, and we got the Carney Fest coming up,
Yes.
April the 15th. They're going to close down the street there by the church studio at 3rd and Trenton, and they're going to throw quite a party. It's a 12-hour thing, 11 to 11, and it's everybody from us to Reverend Horton Heats, the headliner, and Ann Bell's playing, Jake and the Idols.
It's going to be fabulous.
It's
It's going to
gonna
be
be
a
a cool
good
time.
time.
I
Get your
can't wait.
tickets now. Reach out to the folks at the church studio. Don't hesitate. Join us at Carney Fest. It's going to be a good time. Absolutely.
Yep, keep your fingers crossed on the weather. She checked. I know she checked with the almanac about that day.
You can
and
always
it's,
trust
it's
the almanac.
It's
Isn't
traditionally
that right, audience?
not a rainy day, so
Right.
that's what we're hoping.
Well,
so.
let's pray for weather.
Yep,
Good
there you
weather.
go. There you go.
So
All right.
one of the things I've heard about Brad is that, and this is an honest critique that I've heard about you, Brad, is that you sound like the places you've been to. And
Well, I've been to some pretty cool places, so I guess that's what they mean, like New Orleans and places like that. I kind of wear that on my sleeve. I think I've spent a lot of time down there, and that's my favorite music. And there's a way you can kind of work that sort of thing in with the New Orleans thing. That's kind of what we were talking about Chris Combs earlier. Chris's mom was from New Orleans, so he's got a lot of that. Even though you might not know it from his more jazzy modern playing, he's got the funk down inside too.
I know that back in my early days, Pryor went down there for a week and stayed for 6 months. They're like, where is he? He's not coming back for a while. It's like,
Yep.
wow, he must be having it good. And I can only imagine.
He must have found some gigs.
Well, he found gigs. You know how he did it? He just walked into clubs and started playing.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, from what I understand.
Yeah, I don't have anything to do tomorrow night either.
so, Brad, you were recently in Memphis judging a blues contest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I like to do every year, just to try to keep my hand in to see what the young folks are up to. I had a band when I lived in Houston. I had a band called Swamp Royale, and we actually made it to the finals of the IBC in 2014 or 15, something like that. And ever since then, I go back every year and I just judge. We don't compete anymore, and it's just a fun way to see what the kids are up to.
And that's the International Blues Competition.
Oh, yeah,
held
it starts
annually in
out
Memphis,
with,
Tennessee.
Yeah, there's like 250 bands that start out on Tuesday night, and by Saturday you're down to I think 6, and then they have a duel, and whoever lives and then they
And the guns and the knives come out. The whiskey and blood spilled on the floor.
That's it. No, and this year, I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to my boy Mo Latine. Won the whole thing. He's a young man from Houston. Went down there. A really young man, early 20s, and went down and with a trio won the whole thing. Won the whole international blues competition, and won the Albert King Award, which they give to the best guitar player.
Well, the trio is God's favorite ensemble.
Well,
That's
there you
known.
go.
That's a known
Apparently.
fact. Yeah.
Apparently so. Anyway, shout out to the Houston Blues Society.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Dias Latine. Look for him.
All right. Well, folks, we're going to take just a short break here to cough and get our collective effort together. And we'll be right back. This is the Tulsa Sound Podcast.
We'll be here.
All right.
All right. Yep. Damn, another one of them things.
Oh, that's a good one there. Well,
And we're back. And we're back.
All right.
All right, Oscar. We're
All
back.
right. Man, it's so good to have you here, Brad. In reminiscing about the old Heavens Devils days, I certainly remember the Blue Rose. I certainly remember those days. What a fantastic place it was to see and be seen. I mean, on any given night, I certainly remember your band in there with
Every
Pat
Wednesday.
Murray and Pat Murray on the keyboards and Matt Martin on drums.
Pat.
And Matt Martin at the time had hair down to his waist, and he looked like a member of Mott the Hoople.
That must have been before he went to work for City Hall.
Absolutely,
Yes,
yes.
Yeah, way before.
But I remember those days fondly. And earlier tonight we were talking about this photograph here in the background, and we were talking about some gigs we used to do together at the Full Moon every Tuesday night.
Yeah, we put together a thing. I don't even remember who. I think it was Kevin Ferris's original idea. He said, "Man, let's have a thing and just get together every week with our. We just wanted to play with our friends, and it ended up being Pryor and Flash Terry and Rocky Frisco and David Merritt played the drums, and Ronnie, baby, Uncle Ron on the bass. God bless him. Ron's no longer with us, and
Rest in peace, Ron.
and we just ended up having a cool time, and thanks to the people at Full Moon for putting up with us for a while there, because I'm sure the bar tab must have just been something.
It was a
from
2-year run, if I remember.
Something from Legend. Yeah, maybe.
It was about a 2-year run.
Yep.
And we would have a different rotation of guests, and
Right.
it turned into a who's who, and everybody got to play with who they wanted to.
Yeah, it was just one of those come sit in with your buddies kind of things.
Absolutely.
And everybody enjoyed it so much that we all showed up every week, unless we had something really important to do. And
Is there any place
It
in
was good
town
fun.
right now that's got the scene like that happening at this point?
Johnny Mullinex and those guys have a real cool scene going on.
Yeah.
At the Mercury.
They
on
do.
Sundays.
Yeah, they're doing this bluegrass brunch.
Bluegrass brunch. Yeah, it's a
Roll that beautiful
it's
Mercury's neon
It is
footage there.
It's a happening scene, and everybody and their dog's been going. So get yourself out to the Mercury Lounge on Sunday for the bluegrass
Yep.
brunch. Johnny
Probably
Mullinex
should.
is tearing it up. Day in the Soup, or after that, Brandon Clark in the afternoon. That is what's happening in the Tulsa Sound scene right now.
I get no money for this. But
No.
Go check it out.
But we expect weed and shit.
He wants fame and fortune. Don't fool yourselves for a minute, folks.
So back then at the Full Moon, one of the nights I remember in particular was the night that Bill Davis.
Oh
and sat
man,
in,
God
and-
bless Bill Davis.
The
Bill-
butcher.
Man, oh man.
The butcher, the mayor of the Midway, the man himself. I mean, it was just a great night.
Yeah.
Everybody with Pryor on guitar, with Brad Absher on guitar. It was just absolutely fabulous. Ron Morgan playing bass. I
Ron.
mean, Kevin Ferris on the rhythm. And it was just, special. And back in those days, we would sneak a young Reed Mathis in through the back
I remember
door.
that. We had Reed Mathis a few times.
Yes.
I remember early on, Jenny LeBeau was our guest
And
a
a
couple
young
of times.
Jenny LeBeau. Now, Reed was about 18 years old at the time.
Right.
And
Yep.
Now, Brad, what's Reed been doing lately? I know you've been keeping up with this cat.
Well, a little bit, yeah. How could you not, man? Reed is everywhere. Reed's one of the crazy bass players and guitar players around. He plays all the time.
And
He's a Jam Cruise regular, and he's got an electric Beethoven orchestra thing that he does, and it's all very cool.
He's part of Billy and the Kids and plays with Bill Kreischman of the Grateful Dead.
Right.
He has been recording records with Tea Leaf Green in San Francisco.
Yeah,
he's a hired gun in San Francisco.
I remember the first time
basically.
Reed came out.
That's what he is.
Steve said, "Yeah, let's play some. We'll play something, And I'm like, "All right, what key's it in?" And he said, "I don't know if you want to play on this one." I'm like, "I don't think I do either." And it was some kind of crazy Miles Davis freak out thing, and I was like, "Man, thanks for."
Now Eric went to the TU School of Music.
Thanks for not dragging me through
also,
that.
Which Reed is also a product of.
Yeah.
So
well, TU,
common.
if you were in a jazz program there, you had a lot of ground. They gave you a lot of ground.
Yeah.
And depending on where you wanted to go, especially in later days, when I was there, it was a little bit more structured, but you had to do more work to keep your. You had to do more work to keep your scholarships.
Right,
but the ability to get out and play and meet people, that was the coolest thing of it all.
Well, yeah, that was the main thing they provided, was just an opportunity to get out there with like-minded people and try to find your way,
I remember one particular night, I had the privilege of introducing Benny Craig to the folks at the Full Moon and the Full Circle. And man, he was so excited. He was almost like a little kid with excitement.
He was running pretty hot that night.
And oh yeah. He liked to burn hot. I described Benny Craig as a road flare. Road flare is something that you witness, and it burns bright and it's super intense. But man, road flares don't last long, and we miss them when they're gone.
5 minutes.
Right.
And my heart breaks all the time for Benny Craig.
Yeah, I forgot
I
about
remember
that.
the night we brought Benny
played,
Craig out, and Benny. I remember this memory I have is of Benny Craig doing Milk Cow Blues with Flash and Pryor out back in the alley, behind the Full Moon. Not even on stage, not during the show. And it was just such a good, something special happened right then and there between the three of them, between Flash Terry, between Benny Craig and Pryor, and they just kind of bonded. And that was one of the special things that happened at the Full Moon during that Full Circle thing. And Rocky Frisco brought a lot to the table. Of course, a member of J.J. Hill's band. But we had a lot of great stuff. People would come in and we never kind of,
sure. You never knew
Flash's
what was
horn
gonna
section would come in and rate us, and then just kind of bounce out.
Right. People would
just
freak
never
out
knew. And so,
with that horn, 5 horns in a little place that size. It was like, it sounded like a train coming down the track.
It was a lot. It was a lot. But we do have a similar thing going on these days, and we want to invite everyone out to celebrate these young musicians that are doing it, because the Tulsa Sound is alive and vibrant. And
it's alive.
Better than ever. Guys,
Absolutely.
there are more places to play. There are more young bands. And
the young dudes, man, the young guys that Tulsa's got coming up right now are absolutely working at a really high level. I mean, they constantly blow my mind. They are.
So Combsy comes to mind when you say working at a high level.
Yep, those guys. There's so many young dudes coming up that are just so much better than I think we were when we were that age. You know what I mean?
Oh, they are going out 4 and 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week, and there's a gig probably 7 nights a week that they can find, probably 3 on Sunday.
yeah.
And,
Sunday seems
that's
to be
a great
the new
thing. Sunday's
the
real
new Friday.
Yeah.
Sunday is the new Friday. So get out there and experience this. I hear they got a new deck they're building out at the Mercury. Of course, visit our good friends across the street at the Shrine. Don't forget to go over across the street and visit Donnie.
Just support live music, man.
that's
Tip
what
your
we do.
servers and support live music.
Because remember, before 1984, it was all messed up.
Liquor by the wing.
Liquor by the drink saved our industry in this city.
Yeah, that's it.
I can tell you for sure.
The other day I had lunch with Larry Schaefer, and I found my Cane's membership card.
Oh, dude.
Yes.
Remember when you had to have that to get a drink, man?
I absolutely do.
I'd love to get
I had membership cards
He's
for
got some, I think, printed up, or one of the boys.
Well,
one of the boys
it's
did.
about time to go out to
Brookside
the offices
Depot.
at
I had a
Little Wing.
Brookside Depot card that I kept at the club.
Yep.
because that was where we went.
That was the Mike McKay Musician Shop Jam down there at the depot for so long.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and
that was a Sunday.
That's right. That's right.
You know?
And I
Something
know that
about Tulsans and Sundays.
Shout out to Tawny, but that was for us when we were starting out with the Latitudes.
You mean Tawny Savage just now?
That's right, Tawny Savage, the incredible vocalist for
I have a
Latitudes.
Tawny Savage update.
But that was, I mean, for us, that was more important than a paid gig. Because that was where everybody was going to see us.
Right,
That was where, as Dan Humphreys said, we'll either see the arms fold or we won't.
Exactly, yeah.
But, so,
I love Dan
long
Humphreys.
time. But that, before then, it was a lot tougher. And we talk about the young folks. I really do think they have more opportunities to play out, and it gives them more foot. I mean, they're just more comfortable.
Well, you just get there
doing
faster. Because, there's nothing like just going out and playing live.
That's true.
And if you're doing it all the time, I think when I was that age, I probably got out about once a week or, twice a week. And
I've always been in one of America's most well-rehearsed bands. Like we'd rehearse 52 times for a gig. So, and it's that way today. But, it is true.
Not lying.
It's the whole experience of it.
That's funny. We're the opposite.
Go down to...
Yeah, I think we're the opposite. Somebody told a story tonight about a Karstein gig or a Kale gig or something that was, a pretty substantial gig with, a lot of people there. And they had a rehearsal scheduled, and Karstein finally called and said, man, rehearsing doesn't really help me much. He said, if you can just tell me whether it's a straight beat or a shuffle, and kick it off, we'll be fine.
There you go. Yeah.
Rehearsing doesn't help me much. I love that.
Well, there does come a point where...
I think that's probably part of the Tulsa sound right there,
It is. I heard somebody say it's the sound of a flat tire.
Right, well, I know that's a type of a drum beat, but yeah.
So let me ask you the ubiquitous question. Or are we just about to...
Well, let's take a little break and then come back with ubiquity. How about that? So, all right. Well, folks.
Ubiquity in a moment.
So we'll be right back with the ubiquity after this.
Nice.
So, yeah, man. Shit.
Mark, that's awesome. Sean Parks.
All right. We're back again. Tulsa Sound Podcast. Here tonight with Brad Absher, and we promised you some ubiquitous information. Now, Oscar, lay it on us, brother.
All right. Well, Brad, the touchstone of the show for Eric and I and for our fans and for the Tulsa Sound community is that we ask everyone, what is the Tulsa Sound? What does that mean to you?
Man.
Now, there's no right or wrong answer. And, lay it on us.
Well, to me, I think it's one of those things that it's as much about what you don't play, it's about what you leave out. It's a simple, the guys that we talk about when we're talking about the Tulsa Sound, I think, Leon Russell and J.J. Cale and those guys, they had a real, especially the drummers, they had a real specific thing that I mean, people obviously liked, because all those guys that went out to California. Even Kellner was a Tulsan, till he was in high school.
It records well.
Yeah, and
it's not bombastic.
Yeah, I think it's as much about what you don't. You leave space for everybody else to do their thing. I think is certainly one part of it.
Yeah.
And I guess it depends on if you're talking about the 70s or the 60s or the 50s.
Yeah, I think a lot of times the question gets tossed up like a genre question.
Sure.
I look at it more like, to me, it's an attitude.
Right.
And
sure.
part of it comes from living in this blessed place. Because I know that when I didn't live here,
mm-hmm.
I didn't think a lot about Tulsa.
Right.
But people would say, because we took the whole band,
mm-hmm.
and here we are performing like we're like an REM type rock band, and people are like, man, you guys have this real distinctive sound. And what is it? We don't. And we would go home and listen to Byfield albums and just to feel, because we'd get homesick and say, well, maybe that's it. But I think it's more of an attitude. It's just literally like, you got nothing to lose, so let's rock.
Right. And you know, speaking of Byfield, that By the Light of the Moon, that's if you would ask me what one record was the Tulsa Sound, I would pick that one.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's not one record that does it really, but for me, that's the one. That's the Tulsa Sound to me. Is that one record is just.
It's that Steve Hickerson guy.
Right.
It's
Well,
that Steve Hickerson.
I happen to know that my co-host, as a young man, was able to purchase and get his hands on that very record and be influenced by it from his home in East Tulsa. So, you know, that Byfield record.
Yep.
And you told me that story, Mr. Eric.
Well, no, we would. That's what we would listen to in San Francisco when we get homesick.
Yeah.
But it was obtainable. They could go to the store and buy it.
Right.
Well, yeah, there wasn't a lot of other. I mean, we could get David Gates albums,
Sure.
but you know,
As you should.
Understand, it was hard to
well,
actually
and
put your physical
and
hands on
Byfield was
stuff at the
pure.
time.
He was pure Tulsa. It wasn't
was,
homogenized to a Los Angeles studio.
Right. And you know, my probably my best Tulsa Sound story would be the first time my wife and I went to London was probably 1987. I'm going to guess and say 87. And I was in a music store one day goofing around, and the guy came up, and I was just sitting there playing to myself, and this guy said, "You don't sound like you're from around here." And I said, "Well, I'm from the States." And he said, "Where?" And I said, "Oklahoma." And he kept on, and he said, "Where?" And I'm like, "What the hell does this guy know about Oklahoma?" And I said, finally I said, "I'm from Tulsa." And the dude just lit up and said, "Do you know Rockin' Jimmy?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I know Mr. Byfield, you know." I thought of him as Mr. Byfield.
Mr. Byfield.
I was like 23, you know, years old or something, and I wasn't like tight with Jimmy, and I'm not now, but I mean, I knew who he was. And this guy goes, "Man, you got to come hear my band. We play tonight," and he gives me a card, and so I go back to the hotel and I tell Amy, I said, "We got to go hear these guys tonight. I met a dude, you know," and we go in, and they are literally a Rockin' Jimmy cover band.
Oh my God!
They've got two guitars, bass and drums, and they played the By the Light of the Moon record in order at the Ritz wine bar, like underneath the Hilton, you know, or the Ritz Hotel.
Wow.
Or something.
Wow, how absolutely surreal that must have been.
And I came back and I told Jimmy Byfield that story, and he was kind of pissed because of course he didn't get any royalty money for that.
Of course.
And so that, you know, and then I think they got a chance to David Lindley, who just passed away.
Yes.
Got a hold of the record and of course loved it and offered them a shot to come tour with them.
Wow.
And for whatever reason, that didn't happen. And
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, it's very interesting. That's very interesting.
Yep.
But yeah, he was back when I was playing Byfield, we were playing a lot of the same clubs at the same time. Mm-hmm. He's the first guy that ever showed me the proper way to use a graphic equalizer. He's like, "Yeah, you never want to put it above center line. You just want to make cuts."
I agree.
He said, "Because here's what's going on. When you turn that up, it's ugly." I'm like, "Well, yeah, you're right." So, yeah, and you know, that was really cool because
that's great advice.
I was just a dumb 20-year-old guy setting up his sound system.
You were about to go.
I was. It was Doug's Soccer Bar. I was going for the glass.
Doug's Soccer Bar.
Yeah.
God, I remember that.
But the fact is that, you know, they played over there. When they signed on Sonay Records, they got to go over and play in Europe for I think about 5 or 6 weeks. They were gone. Yeah. That was just about when Steve Hickerson had gone to work for Music Sound World. Yep. And so it happened right there in about that same era. And but you know, they were very comfortable with being here and doing the thing. And
sure. Well, they played all the time, you know. I mean, man, when I moved here, I moved to Tulsa in 1981, right after I graduated high school from Grove.
Yeah.
Come on, Grove. I love it. I love it.
Grove!
Man, those guys between Rockin' Jimmy and Sweeney and Debbie Campbell and Bill Davis,
Yeah.
you couldn't get a gig. I mean, the kind of music that I wanted to play, which was exactly what they were playing, it was like, well, what do we need you for? We've got Bill Davis.
That's right.
And I'm like, well, come on, I can do Mustang Sally too.
Yeah. Stephen was still a baseball player at that point in time, or barely
Yeah,
not
man,
one.
Those guys had all the gigs.
Well, they
So
did.
Mr. Eric would run into similar problems
Well,
with his band.
it was just because of the fact that with the liquor by the drink thing, it was effed up, dude. There weren't hardly any clubs, and the ones that were, I don't know how they made money playing the game, but they did.
Right, it was a strange time.
But as soon as that opened up, it all changed.
Right.
And that was a great thing. And suddenly Brookside had 10 clubs, not 2.
Right.
Because we don't want to forget Charlie's at the Hop.
Right, and back then, those places were primarily owned by guys with oil money. They just had these clubs,
Or they were soccer stars.
or they were
Charlie Mitchell, baby.
That's true, but they would have these clubs as recreational spots to entertain their friends from out of town,
Yeah.
and to entertain themselves. So the bands were paid well. A tip jar was considered taboo. There was no cover charge. Tulsa was very different at that time.
Well, because when you came in a bar, you had to bring in your own booze to begin with, and then you usually had to pay a setup fee when you got to the bar. So you're walking in with your liquor and you're paying them $10 to put a sticker on your bottle, and you're still going to pay dollar setups. Oh, it was a rig.
But that's the way it was. And
Yeah,
we
that was the way it
liked
was.
it.
But it's not
And
that way
We
anymore.
liked it. We
That's
liked it
right.
back then, damn it.
No, we didn't like it at all. Didn't like it. But I'll tell you what, things got a lot musically richer when it happened.
Yeah, it did help music a lot.
And a lot of people
Although
quit.
they hardly ever started charging a cover. I mean, if they did, they acted like it was, killing them to charge.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
When that first appeared, people were offended by cover charges in Tulsa.
$2?
I mean, literally offended.
I'm not about to pay $2.
And beside themselves, and people would turn around and walk away. And
That's how I sold moving to San Francisco to my band. I said, dude, they're getting $10 at the door there. They're like, what? We're going now. Yeah, it was
That's funny.
because it just simply wasn't done. But things are better now, and hallelujah for that.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
goes to Tulsa Sound. Hey, while we're talking about this, let's. I want to bring up a question for you. Tell me about the Night for Guy
Man,
project you've been working on.
I am
here.
I am super lucky. I get to do this every year. It's about the 4th or 5th year that we've done it. My friend Sean Parks down in Houston, Texas, throws a thing every year called a Night for Guy, and it's on May 17th.
Isn't that prettier, folks?
It's on May 17th, and we get together and celebrate Guy Clark songs. Everybody, I think I'm the only Okie. It's mostly Texas folks, and there's a few Nashville guys. Sean Camp from Nashville comes, and Verlin Thompson, who played guitar for Guy Clark for years and years. And anyway, we get together and just they tell stories. The ones that knew Guy tell stories about him. I never met Guy Clark, but I like songs, and I'm lucky enough I get to do probably his biggest song, L.A. Freeway, the one Jerry Jeff Walker had the hit with. So, and this year we're lucky enough it's going to be at the fabulous Fitzgerald's Club in Houston, which is a really cool place.
It's Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
Really cool place where it's an old bank. It's one of those big old bank buildings. I understand Bonnie and Clyde robbed it. back in the day.
A repurposed old building.
Right.
That's very cool.
And it's a
Very cool.
place that Stevie Ray played a lot early on
No
in his
kidding.
career. It's a real cool room.
Wow.
So Bonnie and Clyde actually robbed this place when it was a bank.
Back when it was a bank. Yep. That's
great.
Yeah.
That's the
That is
legend.
great. Man, we sure are proud of our Okie heritage.
There you go.
Absolutely.
God bless Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah, let's hear it, audience. You crazy kids up there. Hey,
Shout out to Bonnie and Clyde.
I got a first-rate education myself in Guy Clark's music, traveling through West Texas with the Red Dirt Rangers. Thank you, Bob Wiles, for
a good thing to listen to
for
in West
turning me
Texas.
on to Guy Clark. We would listen to Guy Clark going down the road, and I remember it as a special time. But that was my first exposure to Guy Clark's music.
Yep.
And so, in the discussion of Guy Clark, Towns always comes up. You know, somebody mentions Towns.
Well, they were buddies. They lived together.
And they lived together. They were buddies. Tell us about this album.
Well, Towns had a record called "For the Sake of the Song," and at some point along the way, his manager decided to bundle this in a hardback copy, just the sheet music. It's not like in his handwriting or anything, but it's the sheet music for the songs on "For the Sake of the Song," which that's a couple of his biggest songs ever were on that record. And I got the opportunity. A friend was having a fundraiser, and this a signed copy, the only signed copy, they say, of the 30 hardback ones, and I got to purchase it at an auction.
Wow.
And I'll send you guys pictures of it. It's a
Thank
pretty
you.
cool thing.
We'd love to see it. We'll put it right here on the.
I'm
Here it is now.
sorry.
Now we're looking at it here.
I feel bad that I have it just, and no one can see it right now. So I'm working on a deal right now to find a place, because that's some serious Texas history right there.
Indeed.
And it needs to be somewhere.
Maybe it needs to be on display at the church
Needs
studio.
to be in a museum or somewhere. Yeah.
Church studio, that's a good
I don't
place
think
for
he
it.
was ever in the church.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, I'm gonna
Give it to Oscar because he's got the T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Because Towns was one of the greatest.
He really was.
And
And a huge influence on the modern Tulsa Sound. A lot of our young Tulsa Sound musicians are students of Towns' work.
I know John Fulbright likes him a lot.
Absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. And John's a monster. If you
Sure
have
is.
not gone out and seen John Fulbright, wow.
You better do it.
You better do it. The guy is incredible. And I mean, with a band, solo, he is a vibrant part of the Tulsa Sound these days, and just a dynamite addition to everything that's been going on. And it takes you, 15 years to become a sudden addition to the Tulsa Sound in my eyes, and he's done that and beyond. Man, how do you feel about Fulbright, Brad?
Man, he showed up fully developed.
Woo.
There wasn't like a slow climb or anything. He was just like bam.
Man.
Sort of like reminds me of Elvis Costello's first record. It was like, holy crap. How is this guy so good already? And,
Yeah.
It wasn't like, okay, I'm going to have to try a few and then I'll get better. It was just like, wham. All right, I'm here.
He is definitely in the Oklahoma lane. He's in the Tulsa Sound lane, but he is
Heck yeah,
definitely
man.
Somehow within his own lane within that lane, if that makes any sense.
Yep. Great stuff, man. I was blown away. I was in Amy and I lived in the Philippines for a little while, and I think I grabbed a Rolling Stone magazine or something in the airport, as you do, just to have something to do on the plane. And she read it first, and she said, "Do you know John Fulbright?" And I said, "Well, I don't think so." And she said, "Well, I just read a review in here that compared it to Blood on the Tracks and Joni Mitchell."
Oh,
And
man.
I'm like, so, okay, I'm going to have to. And as soon as we landed, I downloaded everything I could find by Fulbright, which at the time I think was just the one acoustic record that he made when he was a kid. And I was like, shit, this is really good.
Powerful stuff. Great songwriter,
Yeah, man.
incredible performer. The kid is earnest in everything that he does.
Yeah.
There's no pretense there. Fulbright shows up with a dip in, right? And, it's just comfortable.
Got to play with
He's
him at the
comfortable
chili
on stage.
cook-off
Oh, absolutely.
last year, and great fun.
And
Always
we'll have
a pleasure.
some footage of the chili cook-off. We're going to blend into this episode with Mr. Eric's fine editing help.
That's
He's a
gonna be
master
awesome.
editor. You know, Mr. Eric doesn't get quite enough credit here on the show. And
Well,
wanna
I don't know
I
about
just want
that.
to take a moment to thank Mr. Eric.
don't know about
Mr. Eric has also been the technical director.
If
at
you
the,
if you read that disclaimer card at the end,
It's a technical marvel.
It's all in
telling
there.
you.
Mr. Eric's also been the technical
guys at home
director
can't
at
see,
the
all
Tulsa
the
Convention
stuff.
Center for the last 25 years.
well, you know,
the man
here from
is-
our exciting streaming studio in downtown Tulsa, we're excited
we're looking
to
out
be
over the city,
sponsored
the
by
view.
Sevco.
Oh, man, yes,
The
I
view of
almost
the
Want to
river
throw out
is-
again Sevco, of course, down in
the BOK
Peoria.
Center in the background.
Sevco,
Right,
and
the view of the river is incredible from
But
here.
Mr. Eric is careful and crafted at what he does, and sometimes I suffer from his insane perfectionism.
Thank you, Oscar.
But I love him with all my heart, and I just want to take this moment to just give him a little credit for all the things he does.
Well,
Thank you
you're
guys for doing
you're
this.
a nice guy
Brad,
for saying
you've
that.
got some dates coming up here.
He drives me crazy.
Just a couple.
Absolutely, you got some April dates here.
Well, Carney Fest is coming up on the 15th.
Carney
and,
Fest.
like I said, that's going to be real
15th
cool.
of April,
We've
tax
got a
day.
real cool set
So
lined
it's-
up for that.
So it's 2 days, right?
So
no,
you drive
one
downtown,
day
drop
thing.
off your
No, it's
taxes,
a one-day
and
thing.
It's a one-day deal.
And April 22nd, Tulsa Time house concerts.
Oh, we're doing one of the house concerts. Yep, that's
Woo!
Stephen White and I, my buddy
oh,
Stephen
there you
White.
go.
Now, Brad has a project he does with Steve White called Absher,
Absher,
Martin and White
White.
with Matt Martin on drums.
Matt Martin.
And sometimes these guys all change places. They'll all switch
Yeah,
instruments.
I'm the bass player on that gig, which
Ah.
is always fun. Gets me thinking about songs a little different way, and trying to sing and play bass is different than playing guitar. And
Well, most importantly,
Same.
it makes you look more beautiful when you're holding a bass guitar.
right, you're a
Yeah.
lot prettier. Yeah,
Yes,
And
it's a fact.
Well, it
It is
fits
a
my size. It fits my body better. you
Doesn't
know?
it though? It's like it's like holding a coffee table, isn't it?
That's
yeah.
it. Yeah.
How about May 11th, Brad? You got something going on here?
I
Listen
don't know.
to Tulsa Tea.
yeah.
Oh yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
got some stuff going on here. And then again,
I only check it week to week. I don't know about the future.
my eyeballs are failing, but it seems to say March 3rd.
Well, March 3rd, the
At,
ding-a-ling,
the
that
Blue
was
Note.
like 3 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, we crushed
Oh,
it
the Blue
on
Note,
that.
man! How was that night? The Blue Note was like fun.
We
How was
did.
that night?
We actually did do a great sold out show with BC and the Big Rig and Ian Moore at the VFW.
Ian
I
Moore.
I love talking about
Justine's
gigs that
favorite,
have already
Ian
happened.
Moore.
But you know what? It was fun. And if you haven't been to a show at the VFW, you know, it's not like the VFW, you know, like if you're from, you know, Pawhuska or Afton or it's not like that VFW. Come check out the Tulsa VFW. It's super cool. The best view of downtown.
Yeah, out on the deck.
Oh yeah,
in the
yeah.
city,
It's
man.
completely
It's got a
remodeled
deck
in
out
there. It's
that you
really
would have
nice.
to pay $1 million for in New York.
The first time I ever went to a show there was actually a VFW thing going on downstairs.
Right.
And we walked in, and these kind ladies, they said, "Oh, no, you want to go upstairs where the children are."
Yeah,
and we're like, "Oh, yeah, we're out of here, baby. Love ya." But,
Yeah.
it is a really cool place.
It's a neat venue. I think the VFWs get a big rap, a bad rap because of how they are in like small towns. You know?
Sure,
Yes.
But this one's really cool, man.
Completely
They do a great
remodeled
job.
inside.
It is.
That
It's
is sweet.
sexy.
Yeah,
It's
it's
got a
real cool.
really
It's a
nice
great
bar.
lounge.
And
Very
it's got,
well stocked bar.
Well lit
And it's,
parking, security parking.
One of the
so-
few
Huge-
places that carries
huge
my
parking
whiskey.
lot.
You know, I want to invite you to come visit these
Come on
places.
out.
Don't be
It sounds
afraid
like I
to
work
come
for
in
the
from
VFW,
Owasso
but-
and Broken Arrow. Come on out. Support live music in the city. You guys just got done wrapping up the Midnight Chugel.
Yep.
Woo! That's a hard word to say, Chugel.
Yeah.
That was it.
Got the T-shirt. I got the T-shirt to prove it.
How was that, Brad? How was the Midnight
Man,
Chugel?
it was really fun. My wife made gumbo. My wife and Lindsay from The Worst made gumbo for all the people that attended. And man, they
Oh,
loved it.
filet gombo. Hey,
we have a
he's a good crawfish como pe.
we have an old crawfish recipe we got from a dear friend, and I'm sorry, a gumbo recipe, and we pull it off. She pulled it off. She made gumbo for about 300 people. It was
Oh,
pretty
man.
amazing.
And that was a Horton Records
That was a
party.
that was a Horton Records party. Yep.
Absolutely. So were there multiple bands playing? From
Well, the Chugel part was Paul Benjamin and Jesse upstairs.
Oh, man.
After the show, that was the midnight Chugel.
Listen, folks, I have nothing but good things to say about Paul Benjamin and Jesse Aycock. And if you follow the Tulsa Sound,
Some more of the young dudes that are now the Tulsa Sound, man. Those two guys right there.
amazing young artists that are doing this thing, and they live it. They're living the Tulsa Sound, and for me, it's a pleasure to observe. It's a pleasure to see.
Well, and it's a young man's game to be out there every night doing it.
Absolutely.
I'm glad they're out there doing it. I can sleep well knowing that they're out there doing it.
So
We will be sleeping well as they are out there doing it.
Well,
I know.
And because that's how it is. I mean, I was there. I was the guy doing it 4 or 5 nights a week, and now I'm not. I'm 60 years old now, and we try to hit it a couple times a month and make it an experience, and that's all good. That's how it is. That's the new Tulsa Sound for me, is playing less.
Well, the cool thing is there's a place for everybody, and
Right on.
And after you earn your place, then there's a lot of respect too, because I've lived in cities where there is no musical heritage to speak of.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
And yeah, it is, because everybody's in transient going.
Right.
They're either going up or they're going down,
Yep.
and to be able to look back over 50, 60 years of what we've been talking about since early 60s, late 50s, when we started our discussion tonight.
Yep.
And it is really cool that here in Tulsa you can talk about this. We do have the stories, and of course what we're working on is getting this stuff out there. But they're there to be had. A lot of places don't have that. We're very
We're
blessed.
super lucky.
No, absolutely.
We're very blessed.
Absolutely. We feel like we are shepherding our herd, Mr. Eric and I. And, what I've
you guys for
observed,
doing it.
yeah, absolutely. What I've observed is, the seeds are sprouting. Stuff that we all did 25 and 30 years ago, we're seeing these seeds sprout in the young musicians.
Yeah.
We're seeing all that blood, sweat, and tears, the sweat equity, the miles. We're seeing that in young guys like Paul Benjamin and Jesse Aycock.
sure.
We're seeing that in Dustin Pinsley. We're seeing that in Charlie McGuire. We're seeing that in lots of folks.
Absolutely.
So we if we left anybody out, we didn't mean to.
We didn't
But
mean to.
We do see
Right,
the seeds.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You always
And
leave
so,
people out.
things are changing, things are evolving, and we just glad to be part of this new Tulsa
That's exactly
Sound.
what I was going to say. I'm just glad to be part of it in any way.
Absolutely.
There you
Absolutely.
go.
Large or small, it's good to have a scene.
Oh man, and we sure
Good to have a
do.
tribe.
Absolutely. We love it. We love the Tulsa Sound. And guys, we love you watching the show with us.
We
and
love you.
If you continue on this journey with us,
Give
we're
me a
going to
big-
bring you more
give me a kiss,
information
love.
about the Tulsa Sound, where to go, where to see these artists, and where you can be involved. So thank you for tuning in this evening. Brad, thank you for coming into the studio. Man,
Thank
we
you
could talk
so
all
much.
night. We could talk all night.
Oh, we could, but we'll do another show. We'll do part 2.
Absolutely.
Now look here, Brad. I can't have you calling me up on the phone here in a few days and saying, "Hey, I don't want to. Don't put that on there." Well, we had a great time tonight.
All
Great
right, man, me
visit.
too.
It's so great that you're back in the country. You made it safe.
yeah.
Love
You
it.
didn't get taken hostage or
Yep.
anything. That's super, man.
Yep.
So, okay, folks. Well, that's it for tonight's segment. We're glad you've tuned in with us here at the Tulsa Sound Podcast. And as always, we want you guys to remember to subscribe. Hit the button to subscribe. Make the subscribe bell sound. No, this sound. Thank you. And you also got to remember that we have lots of great merchandise coming your way. So there'll be something to buy before too long. And let's take it out with a little bit of music here in the background. And thank you so much. This is the Tulsa Sound Podcast.
All right.
Thank you, Brad.